يضيق خلقك. الحمد لله ما حد بياخذ منك رزقك. هدي وارتاح تابر واطمح من حقك. بس بلاش العين، لا 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 ما تسوى الدنيا تضيق خلقك. الحمد لله ما حد بياخذ منك رزقك. هدي وارتاح تابر واطمح من حقك. بس بلاش.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this special edition of Community Showcase. Islamic Relief is an independent humanitarian and development organization that has been serving humanity for 32 years. With an active presence in over 40 countries across the globe, Islamic Relief has been striving to make the world a better and fairer place for the 3 billion people still living in poverty. The first Islamic Relief South Africa office was established in Johannesburg in 2003, followed by regional offices being established in Cape Town and Durban. The purpose of this program is to find out what Islamic Relief has been doing and what preparations are underway for the upcoming Ramadan period. The first pledge line on ITV networks will be on Friday the 10th of June from 10:30 p.m. and the focus will be children in need. So we joined in studio with Islamic Relief's Country Director Yusuf Patel. Yusuf, Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yusuf, Islamic Relief has played a leading role in responding to some of the most devastating disasters and has been at the forefront both locally and abroad in sustainable development projects. Can you briefly tell us what some of the current projects are that Islamic Relief are involved in?
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Locally and internationally, one of our biggest projects is the Al Yatim one-to-one orphans program. So globally we're looking after around 42,000 orphans, and in South Africa this number is around 700 children. The next project in South Africa is the Nelson Mandela Children's Hospital project, where Islamic Relief will be part of constructing the Oncology Islamic Relief Center of Excellence for Oncology. And this project in itself is unique in that this will be the 5th hospital in the whole of the African continent only. And it will be purely based on, there will be no child turned away due to inability to pay. This was one of the core fundamental requirements of this project. Our other projects focus around sustainable development, like we have the Osizweni Community Hub model. This is has been active in Annandale for the past 8 years, and what it does is it provides a safe haven for communities in the area and a place of safety for communities. So that model is replicated in other areas. And then we focus on development in terms of education of children. So we have partnerships with like the Two Oceans Education Foundation, the Leadership College, where we have a project called Educate a Leader. We have this project basically enables the children to get out of their circumstances through education. Then we have a Project Hope, which is 3 schools that we in partnership with Two Oceans Education, and we have smaller community development projects focusing on sustainable development. So that's locally. And internationally, on the development side, we try to focus our efforts on Africa and the relief efforts mainly in in the conflict areas. So on the development side in Africa, there's a lot of issues at the moment. One is mainly due to the El Nino and the drought that Africa is experiencing. So we have issues in Chad, Lake Chad region, where we have lots of refugees that have come from the Central African Republic and that are coming into Chad. We have a project in Somalia, also to do with refugees, and also to do with the drought, the effects of the drought that has on the communities. And as you know, the most vulnerable and the people that are most affected is your women, children, the elderly, and the disabled. So these are some of the type of projects that we looking at in Africa currently at the moment, and the rest are our emergency relief. As you are aware, Islamic Relief is an emergency relief and development organization.
So the pledge line for Islamic Relief on the Friday the 10th of June will be focusing on children in need. So let's look at South Africa, where there's an estimated 3.7 million orphans living in extreme poverty. And tell us a bit about Islamic Relief's development work focusing on children specifically.
Okay, so our first point of entry is like as a community hub, and Annandale is a good example because we've established this community hub, and from there we focus on the Al Yatim program where we sponsor the children, but the whole family actually benefits because what's in this area, most of the households are either granny-headed households or child-headed households, and a lot of the children and sometimes the family members and the siblings are all HIV affected or infected. So our focus is around providing them with food security for the month, providing them with healthcare needs, where we look at their healthcare needs throughout the year, and we also look at the educational needs. So we provide them stationery, uniform, and also with the partnership with the Two Oceans, we try to get them from primary education to high school education and then to tertiary, where we can actually create the cycle of getting them out of the poverty cycle. So in terms of development of the children, there is a lot of focus on education. There's a lot of focus on child protection, awareness in the area, advocacy in terms of child abuse, advocacy in terms of healthy living, and also just general safety of children in the areas, because what we find in these areas that a lot of children are abused in these areas, and we need to re-educate the children and the communities to be aware of this.
So it's clear that obviously it's not just about feeding the children, putting clothes on their backs. It's about sustainable development, like you're saying. And what is the importance then for people to support this pledge line focusing on children in need?
Look, I think the main focus is that there's a lot of benefit in looking after orphans. All our children are orphans or either vulnerable children, and we all know the reward of looking after an orphan. And it's important because we try to look after these children as our own children, and we carry them through their whole development period. But and the benefit for the viewers is that they will see the benefit, inshallah, in the year after. And I think that's the crucial message for the viewers.
Okay. Shukran so much, Yusuf, for that. And when we come back, we will continue with our interview. For now, we'll take a short ad break, and we'll see you after this. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Community Showcase. In studio with us we have Walid Davids, who is the Head of Finance for Islamic Relief South Africa, and we're focusing on the organization, we're showcasing them and what they do, as well as telling you a little bit about the pledge line coming up soon. So, Assalamu alaikum Walid and welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam Tahir. Shukran for having me here today.
So, Walid, as the Head of Finance, I suppose you're in the best position from a financial perspective to answer some of the questions that might be raised about transparency and the disbursement of public funds. Can you tell us about the measures Islamic Relief has put in place to ensure that monies do reach the intended beneficiaries?
Tahir, yes, I can tell you a long story, but just to summarize, Islamic Relief is a registered organization, it's a registered company. It is an NPO, it's an NGO, it's a PBO, which means that we need to adhere to certain principles and legislation. As a company, we must conduct an external audit on an annual basis. We also, from Islamic Relief, conduct an internal audit, and that internal audit is conducted by Islamic Relief worldwide, which makes sure that we have processes in place and we are relevant, in our market. We also print our annual financial statements on our annual reports on a yearly basis. And in that annual financial statements, you can see all our income, you can see all our expenses, And I'm proud to say that in terms of our income and expenses, our ratio is really we disburse about 86% of all our income to the beneficiaries. 14%, yes, we're going to have to do administrative costs.
And I think that goes without saying. Obviously, especially an organization the size of Islamic Relief,
yes.
There will be running costs and so on. But I think 86% is a pretty good number in terms of what reaches the beneficiaries. So donations made to Islamic Relief are also tax deductible. So can you tell us about the process should a donor require a tax certificate?
Yeah, so when you donate to Islamic Relief, you've got two benefits. Firstly, you benefit by giving to Islamic Relief, which means that you give money to someone in need. Number two is that you give a benefit, and you get a benefit also from the country that you're within here in South Africa, so you get a tax deduction. So in order for you to get a tax deduction, we need to give you, the donor, a Section 18A certificate. So as soon as we get the money, we at Islamic Relief, we either contact you or you contact us, and we ask you if you need a Section 18A certificate. Not everyone wants an Section 18A certificate, and we post it to you. That ensures that you can now submit that Section 18A certificate with your income tax return at the end of the year, and you get the benefit of that.
I like the way you put it, that there's a two-way benefit, year and in the year after, which is great.
Yeah.
Obviously, the focus being the year after.
Yeah.
But the pledge line on the 10th of June is focusing specifically on children in need.
Yeah.
And so why would you say it's important for people to support this pledge line?
It's very important for the general public to support the pledge line. We have a great need within South Africa. We just don't look at specific area. We look at the different areas across provinces, And yes, there's lots of organizations that do the same work. But what we are doing is we're making sure that we also capture all the other areas where they're not focusing on, One of our things is that we look at orphans. And there's not a concentration on orphans within South Africa. And that's where we concentrate on.
Okay. Shukran so much, Walid. That's been very insightful, giving us a look into the financial aspect of Islamic Relief. Mm-hmm. And we look forward to seeing you on the 10th of June for the pledge line.
Shukran, Tahir. Nice being here.
So we'll have a short ad break, and when we come back, we will continue with our expose on Islamic Relief and the upcoming pledge line. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. We are having an expose on Islamic Relief, the work that they do, the very important work that they do, and the upcoming pledge line on the 10th of June. And in studio with us now we have Fazlan Fransman, who is the head of Fund Development and Communications. Fazlan, assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam.
So, in your capacity as the head of Fund Development and Communication, tell us about some of the fundraising initiatives and the need for community mobilization?
I think that we're going into a very new age of community mobilization, as we call it. Even the traditional way of or thinking about fundraising has slightly evolved, and so what that means essentially is that NGOs need to evolve with the times. So when we do speak about community mobilization, we realize that fund development or fundraising doesn't rest with the organization. Everybody has something to give in the community, whether it is their time, whether it is their efforts, or whether it is money in the traditional sense. So from our perspective, one of the things we have done extensively is engage with the community on how they can help us, reach our mandate. And obviously our mandate is to work with the, poor and marginalized communities, whether it is in South Africa or abroad. So that community mobilization takes different forms. I'll give you an example. We just did over the last weekend, we did community mobilized events where volunteers literally came to us and said, you know what, we love what you do. We think that what you do has value, and therefore we want to host a golf day for you. We want to do a cake sale for you. In Stanger this weekend, there was this whole food market that they organized. So again, it's about getting the community involved so that everybody can feel that they're part of providing a solution to the deeply rooted problems we face, whether it is locally or internationally. And I think that is the essence of where we're going as an organization, and specifically within my department. Obviously not discrediting the traditional ways of mobilizing communities around issues, but I think that we need to move with the times, and that we also realize that not everything needs to be dependent on the staff of Islamic Relief. And so when we speak about the Islamic Relief family, we actually include in that, volunteers and the broader based community, because our mana as an organization is to help marginalized communities, and for us to be able to do that or to reach those people, we require the assistance of our ummah. So I think one of the things that we put in our vision, which is to say we want our community to respond as one to the suffering of others, and that's the whole ethos of community mobilization in essence.
So it's a very interesting way of looking at it, and it makes perfect sense. So I know that Islamic Relief has recently been involved in a drive to encourage the community to get involved with activities, especially university students. So talk to us about the volunteers and the programs around that.
So I think one of the, just maybe to predate the question, one of the things we learn from our global family, because we're part of a bigger global family as Islamic Relief, is that most of their partner offices, and by partner offices obviously they refer to fundraising offices, are entirely volunteer driven. I'll give you an example. You have an office in Spain which has 2 employees and 200 volunteers, alhamdulillah. So I think we're going towards that model where we looking, the reality is, to take it a step back, everybody wants to be involved in doing good, and so for us it's about tapping into that involvement. So we've just recently formed very good partnerships with different MSAs, whether they're in the Cape or in Johannesburg or in Durban, and the idea is that we are forming these partnerships with them. They have a mandate already, whether it is engaging their student population to, one, get to know Islam as a general, and what better way to get to know Islam through actually doing good. So we're engaging with students specifically around that. How can we mobilize them? And one of the things we are looking to bring to South Africa is a separate organization from Islamic Relief, but they're affiliated to Islamic Relief. It's called Charity Week, and it's entirely almost student driven and volunteer driven, which literally says that for this week per month, and it's an independent organization, we're going to host cake sales, we're going to host golf days, we're going to do whatever crazy things it is, whether it is I know one of our partner offices just recently did a superhero run, so they all dressed up as superheroes and raised funds for a cause that they believe in. And I think one of the advantages about Islamic Relief is because we're in over 40 countries, we're able to meet whatever your interest is. So if your interest is, for example, I want to help people in Gaza, then you can organize a superhero run and raise that funds for Gaza, if you want it to be to Syria or to Yemen or whatever, or even if you want it to be for a local project. And that's really what we want people to be part of the solution. And so we went on this, very hectic volunteer drive, and alhamdulillah, it's reaping the rewards. As I said, the story I told earlier about Stanger and Tonga, where there were events that were taking place. The same thing now. We have in Cape Town, we have a massive cake sale going to all volunteer driven, going to take place, and the aim is to get people that link. We're essentially the link between a community person, whether they're a donor or not, and the beneficiary or rights holder, in essence.
Okay. So, coming back to the pledge line on the 10th of June, which is focusing on children in need. Obviously, being a pledge line, we want people in this instance to phone in and pledge financially. So talk to us about the need to support this pledge line.
I think that if you look at it locally in South Africa, there's such a great need. First and foremost on our doorstep. Just this morning I was in Tafelsig and we did a pre-Ramadan distribution. And when you're there and when you're with the people, you realize that yes, it's important as a Muslim community to support causes around the world. But poverty sits right here on our doorstep, and we cannot turn away. So I think my first and foremost appeal is to people is to this Ramadan, let's support children in need. The reality is that there are so many orphans in South Africa, 3.7 million, and they require assistance. They don't have parents like we have parents, where we're able to provide them with, or parents are able to provide them with whatever their need is. So I think in that essence, whether it is locally or internationally, we have the opportunity to do good. We have the opportunity to give back, and we have the opportunity to empower a child, not just in Ramadan, but throughout the year. And I think that is something that the Muslim community, we're slowly but surely we're getting there. The realization that our giving should not just be limited to the month of Ramadan. Yes, it's important, to try and feed a family or feed a child or feed an orphan in Ramadan. But what happens after Ramadan? I know there's the saying that goes that when fasting stops for us, they continue fasting, and that's the reality for children on the ground. So whether we're talking about children in Syria, whether we're talking about children in Palestine, or whether we're talking about children right here in Tafelsig, the idea is that let's get together as an ummah, let's respond as one to the suffering of others, and let's prioritize children. We always talk about children being a priority, for us, for our own children, whether it is, or our family's children, or the community's children. And if we take it back to the African saying, which says that it takes a village to raise a child, we are that village. So let's come together, let's help and support children in need, and let's give substantially to be able to do that. Let's open our hearts and open our wallets, and give for the sake of Allah Ta'ala.
Okay. Shukran so much for that, Fazlan. It's quite interesting the take that the organization has, and with that we conclude this community showcase. I hope that you have been as enlightened as I have regarding the fantastic work that Islamic Relief is doing, and remember to tune in on Friday the 10th of June to support a pledge line in whatever capacity you can. Shukran. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
لا 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 ما تسوى الدنيا تضيق خلقك، الحمد لله ما حد بياخذ منك رزقك، هدي وارتاح تابر واطمح من حقك، بس بلاش العين. لا 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 ما تسوى الدنيا تضيق خلقك، الحمد لله ما حد بياخذ منك رزقك، هدي وارتاح تابر واطمح من حقك، بس